Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty crazy news going on over here. Sony does seem like once again it's in some kind of big trouble, and as well, it kind of seems like they're actually now stopping a lot of production, where it does kind of seem like the initial article that came out maybe a few weeks ago, about a week ago or so, was actually maybe proven truthful, where Sony does seem like it's having a lot of issues in terms of sales, having a lot of issues in terms of actually making the products themselves, and also incentivizing folks to utilize them and use them, especially when it comes to the PlayStation VR 2. Now, it's kind of coming to the point where a lot of folks are now calling it out. We're seeing industry analysts basically cutting down numbers. We're seeing Sony themselves being extremely worried about numbers too as well, and everything else in between. So we're going to go talk about this all throughout the video. Hope you guys are going to have a fantastic, lovely week and weekend. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below if you guys want to follow. We also have the Target links and Amazon links too down below. And let's dive into the video itself. So first and foremost, we've been seeing a lot of issues overall when it comes to the VR market. All the other various big companies are kind of like, well, not doing so hot. And as well, we're also seeing a lot of other various companies too, such as like, say, I don't know, Logitech, and also things like Valve, pushing a lot more on a mobile gaming market. So not as many folks are kind of intrigued on the VR side, and as well, a lot of folks are more so pushing, like I said, on this mobile side. We even came out a lot with this brand new PlayStation 5 like mobile device that's going to be coming out hopefully in the near future, TM, or at least talked about, announced, and with all this other type of stuff too, we're seeing just like more so the market kind of shifting. But now, we're seeing that Sony actually is cutting their PlayStation VR production by 20%, claims as the insider's whole VR industry is now struggling. So it's not actually entirely all this type of stuff too as well. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird to go and see this because everything is not doing good. Everything's not doing well. Everything is just not solid. Sorry, I also looked at the Discord message over there too. So basically, not only is the PSVR 2 struggling, but so is the Meta Quest, as even Apple now is revising their own actual manufacturing plans. The way some companies like Sony and Meta have also been pushing VR hardware, you would think the next big major chapter of games would be that in the industry's history. However, though, a lot of evidence does suggest otherwise. Despite that success of its Meta Quest headset, Meta has actually lost around $24 billion total, but also don't forget it's also factoring like, say, Facebook and like Instagram and other advertising stuff and drama and all that type of stuff, and its efforts to make it mainstream. Meanwhile, though, it's also believed that the PSVR 2 is also at a slow start, with analysts already suggesting it already needs a price cut to avoid becoming a disaster. Now, once again, I'm not even sure because we're also seeing the PlayStation, basically PS5, the bundles, the God of War bundles, also still getting like basically cut on sales and also not selling out. So I'm not really sure on how falling flat these sales are. But at the same time, I do really still stand by that the PSVR 2 is a little bit too expensive. Now, I almost want to say like $100 off actually might go and restart up a lot of different sales, try to sell for $450. Maybe try to do some big bundles, maybe try to do like a $1,000 bundle for the PlayStation, God of War, and then maybe the VR headset, and maybe Horizon. Like I could see like a mega bundle maybe doing possibly well. But as we see all this type of stuff, it's very, very intrigued to see that it's just not doing good. So Sony has not basically went and actually made official comments on the situation, but we saw a lot of media attention these past about week or so, where they're saying that they want to go cut these production plans. They want to start making a lot more because they just can't have a huge, massive warehouse with like 500 different things all sitting in a corner in a container. So as we're kind of going through that, we can kind of see for that. And so as a reminder, the PlayStation VR 2 has already reportedly struggled before it even launched, as it said that Sony had cut its shipment forecast due to lower than expected demand. Although Sony denied this, stating that there was great enthusiasm from fans, we still have not really seen this enthusiasm so far. I've actually asked quite a bit on my channel itself too, and a lot of people are just still have never gotten it. So people have never actually bought it. And I do think a lot of folks are a little bit more skeptical on Sony as of right now to see if they're going to keep doing it or not. So if there was, it does seem like the enthusiasm comes just from a small portion of the really big enthusiasts of the Sony audience, because there still has not been any official sales figures, but we have had on prior articles go and suggest that the PlayStation VR 2 only sold around 270,000 units in the space of the month. Now, we've talked about this before, maybe because that number is just not good. It's not a high amount. It's just not a lot. And of course, it is also not going to be outpacing the PlayStation VR 1. It's going to lead to a lot more bigger issues. Because as they've even mentioned, and we're kind of seeing this for overall sales, the stock for all these kind of big companies, and as well the iterations, like the overall social media attention, YouTube attention, Twitter attention, Reddit attention, whatever it might be, it's all been very, very low for the VR. But like I said, I do kind of feel like this next big meta shift is more focused more on handheld consoles and handheld mobile consoles as well. Looking at things like the Steam Deck, this brand new PSP type reiteration console for the PS5. We're also seeing all the type of Logitech type consoles, or even Razer type like handheld consoles, the Switch obviously, and I do think that's kind of more of the next major wave in meta rather than the PlayStation VR 2. There is still enthusiasts that want it, there are still people who will still buy it, but it's a little bit harder to go and see. So basically, analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, if I said it correctly, who is also a noted Apple insider, adds that the Meta Quest 2 isn't actually even faring even better. A sleeker alternative of the Meta Quest 2, the Quest Pro launched this past October, and despite predating the PlayStation VR 2 by 4 months, just only 300,000 units have been sold. Now, this is actually looking really good then for the PlayStation, because it does go to show that the PlayStation itself is, well, at least doing better than Meta. It's doing a little bit better on the Meta Quest itself. And I do think Meta is pushing a lot more, and they want to have, like, that still Metaverse, which still kind of fell a little bit flat, was actually all around not doing too good, but, well, at the same time, it still is not good. Like, all around the entire industry is just not doing well, and I'm very much not happy with this. I don't think the idea of this is cool. I don't think the numbers are good. I don't think everything's gonna be going well, and that also kind of means long term that a lot of these big companies that are developing VR games are not gonna be doing as well. They're not going to be making as much sales, or something for the PlayStation VR 2 games. That might mean that Sony might go and cut a lot of funding or do layoffs because they're realizing it's just not worth the investment, unless this is like some random huge, really higher up CEOs, like just like passion project, and they just want to expand up the VR for maybe like a VR 3 or even integrate it with the PlayStation 6. So, I mean, there is always future potential if they don't mind wasting the money on it, but it does kind of go and show the overall market's not doing so hot. So in addition, Pico 4, China's largest headset brand, is apparently underperforming too, as 2020 shipments are reportedly 40% lower than expected. So once again, very mediocre numbers. There is currently insufficient evidence to suggest that AR/VR headsets can become the next star product in consumer electronics in the foreseeable future, concludes QO. As such, he believes that Apple's own VR announcement is perhaps the industry's last chance to convince investors that VR tech is here to stay and will be the next big thing. Now, that's a big thing to note too, because it does kind of seem like Apple is a big conglomerate. Like, as you guys know, Apple iPhones, or basically, their TVs, or iPads or Macs. Whenever Apple does something right, they do usually go and have a pretty big market with it. And I think it's another big thing to note, is that say they want to go into, like, say, VR, which it looks like they are. They want to make sure this is going to be one of those things that everyone wants. So think like iPods, think about like iPhones, think about like literally everything, like iPods, everything. So it's intriguing, because it does kind of seem like PlayStation, at least compared to all the other markets, like we said, for Meta, it's doing pretty okay. Like, the numbers aren't bad, but the numbers are definitely not expected of what they wanted, and I do think a lot of companies and basically products are actually going downhill when it comes to overall sale and overall, like, economic, potential when it comes to stuff. So that said, even Apple apparently isn't all that optimistic about such an announcement generating any hype at all, at least compared to its iPhone reveal. Kuo claims it has led to mass production delay and a shipment forecast of only 200,000 to 300,000 units for this year. Now, once again, compare that to the actual PlayStation VR 2. PlayStation VR will beat that, although they'll actually have more numbers made. They've already sold, apparently, from the leaks, 270,000 numbers, which is probably a little bit higher as of now because it is still currently available. But that is still really low. But I mean, if you could somehow go beat out Apple and their own brand new VR technology, that's at least pretty good, and you can kind of go brag about that. They could also go and say that because Apple isn't very optimistic about the AR/MR headset announcement, recreating the astounding iPhone moment, so basically they're trying to go make like some magical moment that everyone's a part of, the mass production schedule for assembly has been pushed back by another 1 to 2 months to mid to late Q3 2023. So another few months to go for this. The delay also adds uncertainty whether there is a new device. You don't even have to take Kuo's word on it. There's other research which highlights how VR simply isn't that popular, at least with the younger demographics. And I also do want to say that too. I have actually seen a lot of these little younger demographics too as well, just not want it. Like, a lot of people on my YouTube or Twitch channel, they just don't want it. Like, they think it's cool, but it does seem like a very niche product. I've even been hanging out with a bunch of YouTubers too, and even them, they're kind of like, who cares? I own either like my Quest or my Vive or whatever it might be. So a recent survey via CNBC of more than 5,600 American teenagers discovered that only 29% of them even own a VR device, which is actually a bit higher than that, and only 4% even use it on a day-to-day basis, which also, once again, seems kind of well, number kind of low, but on top of all that, just 7% plan on purchasing a new VR headset, while 52% either aren't really that sure or just simply uninterested. Not exactly a good look when new technology is meant to mostly appeal to younger, more tech-savvy generations. So it does kind of just seem like, from looking at all these numbers too, is just that Sony wants to go cut this production plan throughout the rest of the year by 20%. And that just kind of goes to show that just no one really wants it. No one's really buying it. No one's actually really investing too much into it. And at the same time too, we're still seeing all these other various things are just not good. Like, just people aren't interested in it. People aren't excited for it, and it does kind of seem like this will become a problem that Sony's going to have to deal with, especially with their PlayStation, and as well if also people are just not doing so hot. Now, some people do like the idea, obviously, of like PlayStation VR 2 games. 90% like 90 hertz is actually looking kind of nice. The support's going good, and so far the reviews have been very positive, but once again, it's just it could have the best product ever, but if no one wants to buy it, then there really isn't any big reason for it at the end of the day. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. Or do you guys have one? Do you guys not have one? Are you guys worried too? Let me know down below. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below. Probably hang up on Twitch if you guys want to hang out down below. And of course, we also have the Amazon links and everything else too as well. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here up in the first place.